Mary S. Peake was born in 1823 in Norfolk, Virginia. At 6 years of age, her mother sent her up to Alexandria, which at that time was a part of the District of Columbia. There, living with her aunt and uncle, she was able to attend school and have many tutors. She was able to learn reading and writing and mathematics, but also learn geography and history and science. When she was 16 years old, Alexandria became a part of Virginia. Virginia forbade blacks from learning and being taught how to read and to write and mathematics and any other teaching that was there. So Mary returned home. When she returned back to Norfolk, she began to attend First Baptist Church, and there she started Daughters of Zion. Daughters of Zion was started and slated to be a service organization, but Mary secretly began to teach those who attended how to read and to write. Understand that if she had been caught, there would have been severe consequences for her as well as those who attended. In 1851, Mary married Thomas Peake, and they moved to Hampton, Virginia. Thomas was an oysterman, going around the rivers and collecting the oysters that were plentiful at that time. But the tensions between the North and the South were rising. Those tensions had gone from words to action to war. It was then that Fort Monroe, which was near to Hampton, Virginia, was going to be controlled by the Union Army. As they were progressing down to take control of Fort Monroe, the white citizens of Hampton took torches and they lit on fire every house and building inside Hampton, Virginia, including the home of Mary and Thomas Peake. After all the white citizens had left, leaving only one building standing, St. John's Episcopal Church. After they left, the black community came together and rebuilt Hampton, Virginia. And Mary began to teach again. After Fort Monroe became a Union-controlled fort, some slaves ran to that fort for protection. General Armstrong was not willing to send those slaves back to their masters, so he decided to call them contraband. Contraband meaning property derived during the process of war. And the slaves were able to stay. When it was found out that the slaves would not be sent back to their masters, well, slaves came from everywhere over to Fort Monroe. First, it was mainly the men, and they were put to work in fortification of the actual fort itself. Then the women followed, and they provided for laundry services and for cooking. But with the women came the children. And General Armstrong, seeing the children, knew that they needed to have the opportunity to be educated. He asked Mary Peake if she would start a school, and she agreed. A parcel of land was given to her, and that land is where she began to teach. Underneath a large tree, she began to teach her first students. And those first students went from 6 to 50 in a matter of days, until she could no longer just be outside, and a home was given to her and Thomas Peake. Upstairs they lived, but on the bottom floor, every day, except for Saturdays and Sundays, she would teach the children. But not only did she teach the children, those adults who wanted to learn would come after a full day of work and come to her home, and they would learn as well. She became very sick in 1862. She had tuberculosis, but even when she lay on her bed, even when she coughed, she still taught, refusing to give up even a moment of the opportunity for all people to have an education. Mary Peake died in 1862. She did not live long enough to hear the Emancipation Proclamation read under what is called the Emancipation Oak. Today, if you were to come to Hampton, Virginia, you would see that Emancipation Oak, not very far from the actual home where Mary Peake taught those students, both young and old. And if you came to see both the oak and that home, you would be on the campus of what is now known as Hampton University. Mary Peake, a woman who believed in education for all people as a way to rise up from slavery to freedom.